Good morning, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Welcome to our last episode of this foundational series of Value First Humans. Here with our favorite Value First human, George B. Thomas. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, but I think maybe you're the first favorite value first human with all the people that you talk to, with all the content that you've done this year. Chris, we're sitting here on the precipice of a new year. We're getting ready for the holiday season. We're literally closing this out before the new year. This kind of series that we've been doing. Um, Dude, I just want to take a moment to say congratulations on 2025 and all that you've done, all that you've created, and the relationships that you've built along the way.
I appreciate that very much. And, I always talk about serendipity being a wonderful thing. I can't think of a
Yeah.
better topic to close on
Yeah.
this year, and something that can be just an explainer of why we do what we do, why I have done the work I have done in the face of like zero LinkedIn metrics telling me it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so this week is about enabling really valuable value multiplication in any way, shape, or form, often in the face of really just having faith that it's going to come back in some ways. I'm not necessarily talking about religious faith, but that's how it's going to be for some people.
Yeah.
But just that's what it takes to do it at the level that we do it. I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's on a foundation of having done it for a little bit, getting tidbits here and there that we don't necessarily read into um, to understand what's working and what's not. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, listen, you can take it from the religious side of this, or you can take it from even the Gary V side of this. Like my dude has been preaching the idea of like value to reciprocity to revenue
and
for
I think the
since
big we dive in,
what, say that again?
right? Like, I'd love for you to share the AI mentions the story about the AI mentions you beginning, because that's the interesting
Yeah.
shift here, right? We're trying to help people not get distracted by the digital metrics anymore
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily like telling you the truth. Meanwhile, there's human based signals all around you
Yeah.
that are telling you the truth, and they're going to come like the results you're used it's going to come through AI. So it's like there's just this perfect storm of shift, and I'd love for you to share what you've been experiencing recently.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I mean, again, there's this level of understanding how the universe works, right? You add value to it. Based on that value, what you reap, what you sow. If you take it to the kind of faith metric that Chris was talking about, I, of course, take it a little bit spiritual, but I also take it just universal. Gary V, again, has been preaching it. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, since what, 2013, I've been creating content. I fell in love with creating content. I fell in love with creating content because it was a way to add value to the world. It was a way to put a dent in the universe. The way that I've said it is that it's my way to be a catalyst for growth. Now, here's the fun part: is when I created the content in the first place, I was probably the worst person about paying attention to SEO, search engine optimization. Am I doing this because it's a masterful SEO plan? No. When I was creating the content, was I doing it because it was this masterful building of a brand and building the George B. Thomas brand? No. Now, did it happen where all of a sudden the stuff that we created had SEO value? Yes, because it was valuable. Did it build a brand? Yes. Were we able to launch a business based off of the fact that we added value to the world by creating helpful content to help humans to be a catalyst for their growth and put them? Yes. Now, here's the funny thing is over the last 30 days, I've had 4 leads. I'm calling them leads because I don't know them. I didn't touch them. I didn't chase them. I They just showed up at my doorstep. Okay. Humans, 4 humans, but they sounded really different than any other humans that I had encountered before. Usually I would hear things like, yeah, I heard you on your podcast, or I read your article, I saw you on YouTube. I've heard those things. This time in the last 30 days, we've had 4 humans show up at the doorstep and they've said, yes, Chat GPT, Perplexity, Claude. Like, I was searching this thing or having this conversation and they mentioned you. One guy said, mentioned you and said, everybody else sucks. I said, whoa, that's probably not the truth. But at the end of the day, these conversations are just different, and they're coming from a different direction. And Chris, here was the funny thing: is yesterday when I was talking to this gentleman, he said, by the way, he goes, are you paying for that? And I said, no, I'm not. And let me explain. And it actually gave me an opportunity to explain to him the power of adding value to the world and creating content. And that's how we're actually being found. And so I want everybody to realize, while we're helping our clients with AEO and GEO strategies, and while we're paying attention to things like schema, and while we're looking for the day when there's like probably another TXT file that's like AI related, that is like, hey, that's a mandatory thing you should do. Not quite yet. All of that's cool, but dang on it, can we just go back to the fact, if you're adding value to the world, if you're creating content, textual, audio, and video content, and you're doing it in a human way, these dang robots realize what good humans doing good things look like. And early days, I feel like I'm proving the fact of what I've been doing for the last 10, 12, 14 years is gonna work for the next, well, until we don't need content anymore. Anyway, but I'll stop there. Chris. It's just crazy how I haven't been paying for it. We haven't really changed our strategy, but yet we're winning in this new age.
Right. And a big part of this series in Value First in general is like, look, folks, the pay to play games, the tricks, the hacks to get seen, like all of that is going by the wayside. Because it's unnatural, and we're gonna get into that. But before we go off on too many tangents, I'm gonna hit this seventh commitment. And last week we talked about, recognizing signals rather than manufacturing leads. You said something that I think was the perfect setup for today, and really how I think you've been found in the AIs, in our AI buddies. You don't have to start with a conversion to get a customer, right? And that's the shift right there. And what we want to help with today is, like, once the value is flowing, like once you get that good feedback, like what do you do? There's a couple avenues you can go down, and we're going to talk about them today. But let's talk about this commitment. We will enable multiplying value rather than extracting diminishing returns. And remember that extraction of diminishing returns part as we start talking about pay to play in a little bit. We believe value grows and multiplies when freely shared between people and organizations. We commit to creating environments where value can flow in all directions, generating expanding rather than diminishing returns. This means we will design offerings that create value for all participants rather than extracting maximum value from each interaction. We will enable customers to multiply the value they receive by sharing with others rather than protecting our competitive advantage. We will create community spaces where value can flow between customers rather than controlling all relationship touchpoints. We will focus on expanding the total value created rather than capturing more of fixed value. And we will measure success by how widely value flows rather than how efficiently we can extract and convert it. What comes to mind, George?
Ah, I mean, it's funny. The first thing that comes to mind is I've had several humans in my life where these words, and of course these words out of love, have been said. Just get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. Like, let it flow. Right. And I love this idea of water. I love this idea of flow. I love this idea of being in a state that you want to be in or should be in to again get what I feel is this cycle of life. And I promise you, I'm not trying to have this like deep philosophical conversation, because while this is usually, boxed off for like life, these same things hold true in business. And the thing is though that we have been taught and told a way, and we've seen that way work, and we continue to do those things based on what we were taught and told, and then what we saw that works. But just because it worked once doesn't mean it always works. And yes, maybe it works if you do it to 10,000 people and 5 people say yes. But what if you changed and you were able to talk to 100 people and 95 said yes? Like, and we're bad at that. We're just really, as humans, we're really bad at that. And I can tell you right now, more than ever, we are in a place, a time, a moment where people, I'm telling you, they need to get out of their own way. They need to start to pay attention to the flow. They need to realize that everything has changed. The things that were taught in the industrial age with your hands are, ladies and gentlemen, the things that you thought the internet age and the information, and that was the value. I'm telling you, we're moving into a place where it's going to be more about you, the human, and the value that you provide and the energy of the things that you build and what it puts into the world, to the reciprocity, to the revenue that comes back to you. I feel like I'm preaching, and I don't mean to be that way, but like, it's just really important to understand what we've been talking about through this series, and not just to be like, oh, that's nice, we watched that thing, but it's like, oh, huh. So what actions are we going to take over the next 365 days in 2026? Because,
Yeah. And if we can like break it down, because at the end of the day, like it's this industrial age reflex that we're
yeah,
trying to like help you remove or rehabilitate from, however you want to put it. Right. And here's some examples of what that looks like when something valuable emerges. Right. So someone engages deeply with content. Oh, let's gate it. Right. It's highly valuable. We're going to be able to get some people signing up for that. A referral comes in. Oh, let's create a referral program with incentives that nobody asked for. A customer succeeds. Oh, we got to turn that into a case study so we can leverage it and get more customers. If somebody inside the org creates knowledge or value, protect it as intellectual property. When a community starts forming, how do we monetize access? Right. Every one of these
yeah,
treats value as something to capture rather than enable. And this is, again, if you could zoom out and understand what's happening with AI, scarcity versus abundance, right? The underlying belief of that list of things is value is finite. If I give it
yeah,
away, I have less. If someone else gets value, that's value I'm not getting. And the reality is that value multiplies. Like through sharing, the more it flows, the more there is.
yeah. It one of the things that I'm so grateful for, Chris, is that I literally had the 4.5, almost 5 years that I had with Marcus Sheridan. That was like a real pivotal time in my life of like who I'm showing up as now, and some things that I think about, because when I hear you talk, I giggle inside a little bit. Not like a child, but just kind of like, huh, like that kind of giggle that you have. And it's like, we've been saying since 2013, there's no secret sauce. There's no freaking secret sauce. Like, the things that put it out there. It will attract. Everybody's heard the story of like the Geek Squad, right? And like, just do the thing, and like, there are still organizations out there though that are living like they have the secret sauce. Like, not everybody else can. The secret sauce is in Perplexity. The secret sauce is in Chat GPT. The secret sauce is in Claude and Gemini and what, like, ladies and gentlemen, there's no secret sauce. So like, if you don't tell your story, if you don't add your value, then you're basically, what's the saying? Your nose despite your face or something, like,
Yeah.
well, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. Chris, one of the things that I did with this episode that I haven't historically done with the other episodes we did, but I was just in a real strange kind of mood when I was going over the document and thinking about this episode. I literally asked the question to my assistant. I said, what are some of the uncomfortable truths that need to be heard, right? Because I feel like this is one of those episodes where we could come off real nice and like kumbaya. And I feel like it needs to almost be one of those like raps where it's like, dang, why'd they hit me in the forehead with a 2x4 on that episode? But like, some of the uncomfortable truths that it spit out around this are, you're not value first if your first move is to trap people in a funnel the moment they show interest. That's extraction wearing a nice outfit. If you only believe in giving when you can measure the payback, you do not believe in giving. You believe in control. Most gating is fear. Fear is scarcity. Fear that your work is not good enough to spread on its own. Fear that people do not pay. You lose. How is your winning or losing based on payment? Anyway, a lot of best practices in marketing and sales are just industrial age habits. They treat humans like units and treat trust like line items. And I have to ask you if that's your organization right now.
Oh man. Yeah, that trust like line items part.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time that I can remember this kind of resonating in terms of like, what? Why would we what? Why would we do that? Why would we get in the way
Yeah.
of that content? Is when it comes to um gating like product information, right? Like brochures, and there's always these excuses like, oh, we got to make sure we get their state and their region so we can get it to the right sales rep, and that's why it's like literally people want to learn about your offering and you're not giving it to them, right?
Yeah.
And in that same vein, it wasn't that far away from when it came to social. And oh well, we can't just put this stuff out there, then our competitors are going to see it. When in reality, we're at the show, we go take our product to the show, our new launch product, it's got to be secret, but we got to see what the feedback is. 100 people come to the table, 5 of them are competitors, and I can't say anything about it before or after the show. Guess who owns the narrative after that show?
Yep.
The 5 competitors, because I can't say anything to the 95, right? I can't, like, it just, no. Like you say, that the secret sauce is out there. It's always been out there. Like, you're never protecting price. That was never real. Everybody knows what everybody else's price is. And just like the need to, this is the difference between like, you cannot, it's very hard to multiply the value if you're busy trying to extract it, right? Because extraction means we are in control. We've got to measure it. And surprise, Google ads going down, SEO going down, paid ads everywhere going down, LinkedIn metrics nobody trusts, nobody has trusted, algorithms we would love to crack but never will be able to because now they're AI brains and they're not algorithms and they're going to do it better than we could ever imagine. So when in the face of all that, in face of numbers like ad impressions as an industry, intent data being 30% correct, right? Like, let it go, folks. Like, what are you even hanging on to anymore? Right. So when George gets that response, like, are you paying for this? Like, I want to strike at that. Like, what causes that question, George?
I think because to me, when I heard that question, it was coming from maybe one of two, maybe three. I'll give myself some open room, but one of two or three places. One, hey, are you paying for that? And I would say, yes, I'm using XYZ tool. To which the person on the phone would write down in their little notepad, purchase XYZ tool. It's working for George B. Thomas. That's one place, right? Like, how do I figure out how this cat is doing this? Because I find value in the fact that I found value from this guy in this place, and I want to do the same. Rewind that and listen to that 2 or 3 times. I don't even know how I made it through that part. Like that. So that's one piece. The other part too is just this idea of like, there's got to be something special. Like, what am I missing? Like, I'm not there. How is he here? Like, you know what I mean? So it's the gap of like understanding. I go back to my question I like to ask Chris, like from the place of, is it possible? Like, is it possible that this dude just is that good that he shows up in these places and doesn't actually have to do something crazy or pay for something like you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's probably this branch in the brain, and I don't know that human enough yet. Although I'm sure that we're gonna be starting a relationship in 2026, and I'll get to know that human and be able to figure out where that came from. Let me hit the brakes. By the way, how many of you watching this even think about that? Like, I know I'm going to circle back around and try to figure out the human and why that question was asked, because if I can figure out why that question was asked, I can unpack actually the way that I might answer that question for a future human that asks me the same thing in a way that unlocks their brain to a place that I need them to get to. All right. So, like, and again, I talked about this earlier on episodes, like, we're in a place in time where surface level is no longer any good. And if closed one is where you stop, you're dead. Like closed one is not where I stop. Closed one is the beginning of my race with a human. Like
that's why we stopped calling it closed one in value first terms.
Yeah.
We call that activation, folks.
Yes. And
appreciate Rob Jones today showing up. Yes, he is that good.
Dude, come on now. Come on. But hang on, because I gotta say this, like all of this that I'm saying on these episodes, please understand that I'm saying this as like humbly. Because I never show up at my keyboard, show up at the mic, or show up in front of the camera and be like, I'm the shit. I show up and like, okay, I'm the sensei who needs to show up as the master and then just kind of go back to being the sensei so that I can add value to, like, there might be people like one step below me that might get value. There might be people like 20 steps below me. And I don't mean in like any type of like weird way that will get value. But I realize there's 1 billion thousand people that are like, make me look like the dumbest dude on planet Earth. And if you can't have that reality of like who you are and where you fit into your space or spaces. And so like when I say, is he that good? I am not saying that from a like egotistical, braggadocious place. I'm just saying, simple stuff works. I'm a simple guy that uses simple words, that creates simple content that helps people. Like, I'm not a ninja. I'm not a Gary V. Not a Neil Patel. I'm not a Marcus Sheridan. I'm just George B. Thomas. I'm out here doing my thing. And guess what? My thing happens to work a little bit.
Yeah. And man, a little bit of underselling yourself there, but I don't know if I know anybody that creates as much as one George B. Thomas.
You do. You make me look like I don't even create content. What are you talking about?
Oh man.
Like, I'm like, man, how can I be Chris Carolyn when I grow up? Like,
oh, wow.
the amount of humans that you talk
I've
to,
made
have
it,
you
Mom.
done the math? Have you done the math? The amount of humans that you talk to in 2025, the amount of episodes that you did. Like, I think you're, hang on. I got to go here. I think you are where I was before Dan Tyre told me face to face that I had built $1 billion brand. I don't think you understand the value of who you have become in the ecosystem. Okay, not why we're here.
I am currently doing the math, and the math will be shared in by the end of the year. I
Good.
hope.
Good.
But oh yeah. So what does, since I can't remember what I was gonna say, what does content multiplication look like? Let's go through some examples. Last week we talked about an idea, haven't implemented it yet, but the share to AI button. Like, instead of downloading PDF, like if you know somebody's like, what we've seen is like the Cloudflares of the world, and like the industrial infrastructure is still there, where don't grow my shit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right. You know that people are going to copy, paste, screenshot, do whatever they can to go and take it to their AI friend of choice so that they can talk to somebody about it. Right. Because it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday and they're not even trying to ask a human, but there's a new friend that can now be available to have this conversation. So making it easier for people to learn through that conversation that they're going to have with AI, right? Not assuming that, oh, we've got to do it in the picture perfect way because then they're going to be here and they're going to consume and they're going to spend time on site. It's like, no, assume that everybody wants to learn in a conversational way, right? And now they have that AI conversation waiting for them wherever they look, right? You talked about your 12 days devotional, right? No conversion, just value, trust returns, right? Ungated resources that spread through networks. And that's through content multiplication.
Yeah.
Right.
Dude, can I tell you another? Well, I'll shut up. Finish. Then I have another story for you.
Right. So we've got 3 other categories in here. We've got knowledge multiplication, right? Teaching frameworks openly versus protecting methodologies, like trademarking stuff, like things that make it harder for other people to latch on and go nuts with it, right? Helping customers become independent versus maintaining dependency. Training competitors, yes, really, to elevate the entire field. By the way, anybody teaching inside of the HubSpot ecosystem is constantly training competitors. And guess what? We all need training because people still don't know what the hell HubSpot does at the end of the day, including AI, by the way.
Yeah.
Relationship multiplication, referral partners without incentive programs. Man, I'm so excited to see what people think of what's happening at Value First right now as it continues to grow in 2026. Because it's without incentive programs, without contracts, without signed agreements, right? And people are freely sharing value with each other. Customers who become advocates without being asked. Community members who support each other and not just you. And success multiplication, customer wins celebrated publicly for their benefit, not just yours. Man, I'm going to come back to that one in a second. Lessons learned, shared even when they're hard.
Yeah.
Right? Rising tide that lifts all boats in your ecosystem. This customer win celebrated publicly. Oh, man. The testimonial and case study strategy when you try to get people to speak on your behalf.
Yeah.
When you have an extraction mentality, you're constantly in what's in it for me mode.
Yep.
And you're trying, as you do that, you're asking from that perspective, from people who were not prepared to do testimonials, have no idea what that looks like, probably has a legal team, whatever. It's so easy for them to just say, no, we're good. I don't want to do any of that. But when you come at it from this other perspective, like, hey, man, you're like leading the industry now because of the work that we did together. We would love to highlight that. Like, how can we work together to highlight that? Like, they decided to do business with you or invest in your product or service because it made their business better. Why wouldn't they want to talk about that? They'll come up with a lot of excuses. But when you can present it from that perspective and then show them, here's what that post would look like. It's nothing about us and our business. It's about you and how you're dominating them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Chris, what I would give somebody something to just latch in their brain. Listen throughout your day to this. Tally it in a notebook if you have to. The amount of times that you say, can you, versus the times that you say, can we? And with what you're talking about, hey, could you give us a video testimonial? Or, hey, can we share your story? Again, how do you enable them to have an amazing presence that felt like you were investing in them instead of extracting from them, right? And so again, I'm going to break it down that simple thing. Can you versus can we? And start to think about how you're using that in your life. Chris, I've got to go back to your content thing for a second because I'm really excited. A, about these conversations that we've been having, B, about something I've been building over the last like 30 days. And especially over the last 2 days. And this is going to sound insane. But if you're a content creator and I asked you, hey, could you create a resource that is 67,000 plus words in 2 days, you'd probably be like, no. That being said, this also had been being built out over time, at least the base pieces of it. But Chris, over the last 2 days, we've created the most rich, robust version of the superhuman framework ever known to man. And I did the math because you've got the overview page, you've got the 4 cornerstones, and you've got the 10 pillars. We're over 67,000 words on 15 different pages of a website that if one was just to take the time to go and read those, but wait, there's more. Go to those pages and hit the little mini player and listen to those when they're driving down the road or flying in a plane or going on a hike. The amount of transformation or culture change over 15 pages of a website that an organization could have, I can't even begin to start to measure what that might do. And there's no gate. It's there for free. Google, I've asked it to start to search the site. Google is probably losing its mind right now of like, what is happening over here? Because when I say it's dope value. Like to the point where it's pseudo making me rethink things that I've already thought for years as a human, right? And so what people need to, again, realize is like, if you've ever dreamed about creating, producing, or changing something in the universe, we have that ability through the content we create. If you create that content, it should be because you want the maximum amount of eyeballs to actually get to the content and then see what happens on the other side. I go back to that faith word we used at the beginning, or the reciprocity based on the process.
Yeah. And again, it's all mindset. Because if you're stuck in extraction mode or scarcity mode, you will not be able to leverage AI in a way that is allowing like what George just described to happen right now, enabling it, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta share this one
So much good
from
stuff.
Ryan.
So much good
Ryan
stuff.
says, "Give me the George B. Thomas skill.nd."
So first of all, Ryan, I love that's a great joke. I don't even know if they have a skill for that. My wife would probably just say that we don't need another skill like that. But I will tell you the skill.md, this is gonna get real nerdy. If you have not been using skills in Claude or Claude Code, what's the matter with you? Please take over this holiday season to just YouTube search Claude Code and skills. I think it's last time I counted 14 skills in my Claude Code, based really like granular on the thing that I'm creating. So like there's a superhuman framework skill. There's anyway, skills, ladies. By the way, here's what's funny. You should be paying attention to skills in Claude Code moving forward and Claude moving forward and in any assistant you use. Newsflash. You should probably be paying attention to your skills in the future as well. Just throwing that out there. Like, just saying.
And this has been a recurring thread through all the content that I think we've done together. It's the trust, like helping people get to this trust factor, because it does. It requires trust, and it's trust that value given returns eventually somehow, right? Not in this way and by this much, right? Eventually somehow. Right. And whether you like it or not, AI is forcing you in that direction, or you will not be able to leverage it in the way that you want to. Trust that customers can handle transparency. Man. Trust that competitors can't replicate your authentic approach. Like, people could go on George's site, and even after a while, actually, now you can already ask AI about superhuman framework, and it'll give you all the details. But they can't show up and be George B. Thomas, right? Like, trust that the relationship matters more than the transaction, and trust in the long game over the short squeeze.
See, Chris, I love what you just said. But there's got to be an unlock that happens. In the next words that come out of my mouth, I am not trying to be promotional, and I am not trying to be, let me just say it, because you got to be you, right? I want to choose my words wisely. So one, if you're watching this, and again, it might be now live, it might be in the future as a recording. If you cannot show up as a whole ass human because of things that have happened or baggage that you carry, you need to unlock that, whether it be through therapy, whether it be through some type of journey. And again, I'm not being promotional here, but there is a hidden gem of a podcast, beyondyourdefault.com. Just take the time to go listen to Beyond Your Default. Okay. Start with episode 1 and work your way through it. It really was designed to help people kind of unlock things that they've historically dealt with around fear and things like that. So somehow you've got to unlock, how do I in 2026 and beyond show up as a whole ass human and love all parts of me, to then be able to love all parts of others, to add the value that we're talking about. I need you to understand through that journey this piece right here. And I'm going to say it in 2 different ways. You were put on this planet and built to do something special. Your journey is to figure out what that special thing is and then do it. For me, that means God built me designed me, crafted me with the George B. Thomas skill.md before I ever hit this planet. My job is to find through what I'm passionate about, what I have the purpose for, can design the persistence around and love enough. For the last 14 years, it's been HubSpot and the HubSpot ecosystem to then do what the skill.md is that God gave me. Now, I'm saying that for me. I know not everybody that watches this is a spiritual or religious person, but at the end of the day, you still have to figure out, why are you here? What do you dream about? What do you need to build? And then quit making excuses from that half-ass human perspective and become a whole-ass human moving forward. I'm going to stop, Chris.
I'll just share my perspective and where this started coming from for me. Similar path, except much later. And I'll say much later when I started to really understand it. I'll say, like, there was always this part of me growing up that was like, in 7th and 8th grade, the teacher would say to my parents, like, "Oh, it must be nice. Chris doesn't have to try to get C's, and everybody else is working their butt off." And like, I'm sitting in classes and be like, "Why do I have to? What are we doing sentence structure for? I'm never going to use that ever, right?" And so obviously, I've been thinking about this recently, but in 2020, when I was an independent contractor, kind of like I am now, except not with my own business and stuff like that. We started a meditation journey where it was literally Isabel and I just picked one that sounded good, 23-minute body scan from a dude named David G. And in that, like, in the beginning of it, he says, like bring an intention, like figure out what your intention for this meditation is.
Yeah.
And he's rolling through just like nonstop examples to choose from, right? And the one was like, the universe wants you to win, or something like that, right? And it was literally just, if you know me, it's not surprising. I'm like, all right, that sounds like a good one. All right, let's run with that. So for 56 days, and of course, my like scientific brain is helped by the fact that he said that MIT did a study, and like, if you do this for 8 weeks, it changes your brain, right? It makes you more, gives you more self-compassion, all this stuff. I'm like, all right, let's go, right? I think we only missed 1 or 2 days, but it's not an overstatement to say that everything's been different, since then. I pick that same intention every day. I pick that same intention now, right? So that lets me lean into the serendipity and all these, like, the trust factor that stuff will come back. Because I tell you what, like, pipeline has been built in a way that pipeline has never been built before in this moment for me right now. So this couple years, the math that you're going to see about all of this content creation and building relationships and building trust and preparing for AI, like showing up in a way, I did my damnedest to try and catch up with George, who's been doing it for like 13 years. So I've been showing up on LinkedIn as if I'm trying to do that.
You've been killing it, bro.
But also, like, know that, like, doing it with, this is all a learning curve, right? Because as much as I love AI and Claude specifically, I'm looking at a document right now that says George's Superhuman Framework Connection. And it's got 4 pillars on there to reference. 2 of them are correct. 2 of them are made up and don't exist. And instead of being like, oh, I got to redo this doc, I'm just like, I just don't mention those ones, right? I just understand that it's not going to be perfect all the time, much like the humans next to us. So that was my, like, kind of, journey in terms of like trusting that I can't and probably don't want to control everything that happens around me.
Yeah. I have to say, first of all, congratulations on the journey. You have been killing it, my dude. I love this idea of intention, focus. Like that's for 2026. One of the things that we've talked about internally at Psychic Strategies is like focus. Like what are our two major things for 2026 that we want to focus on? But where my brain went when I was listening to you is this idea of you've got to two things that I wish people would embrace more. One, you've got to embrace the suck. When you embrace the suck, that's where growth is born from. The other thing is that you've got to embrace the messy middle. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't go from being whoever you are to whoever you dream about being without there being some swamps and some valleys in the middle. And so like embrace the suck, embrace the messy middle, and just take one step a day. I correlate this to become 1% better each and every day, and you'll be amazed at who you become in the future. But take one step a day in the direction that your intention is leading you into.
Yeah. And I think so for me, that focus word is super interesting. And what I've been understanding lately, because I just like, I'm not going to sit down and focus on one thing. It's ADHD strong, and it's it's a thing. So what I'm learning is focusing on the intention, on that North Star, that thing in the future, that being that I want to be real, right? And then as I need to get through each day, as long as I'm pointing in that direction, right? That's what's working for me. So maybe that resonates with you. And I learned that from a Business Made Simple coach, Jake Brown, when he started working with an ADHD coach. And it's like, if you can put 3 or 4 things in front of you that all point in the same directions, like threading the rope, like as long as you're on that rope, like you can jump from thread to thread and you're still going in the right direction, still building the strength of that rope. We gotta make our way towards wrapping up though. And so here's a little recap of where we've been. Honor human wholeness. These are all the commitments that we've made that you can make. Like there's nothing, you have control over whether or not you want to make these commitments as a business leader, as an individual contributor, everywhere in between, inside of business, outside of business. So honor human wholeness. See the whole person, not a unit to extract from. Enable natural growth. Let value compound naturally. Don't force extraction timelines. Align with purpose. Purpose-driven value multiplies. Incentive-driven value diminishes. Build genuine connection. Connections multiply value. Transactions extract it. Remove barriers. Barriers block multiplication. Removing them enables flow. That's how value first started, folks. I asked Claude, how would you structure an organization? Forget about marketing, sales, service, whatever has been known about how to structure an organization. And he said, I would just try to remove anything that's in the way of value. Like get natural value flow at all costs. Right? That's how this journey started. Episode 7 was recognize signals. Signals show where value wants to multiply. Extraction ignores them. So when you honor humans, enable natural growth, align with purpose, build connection, remove barriers, and recognize signals, value naturally wants to multiply. The only question is whether you'll enable it or try to extract it. So we've got one more challenge for you folks. You want to take this one, George?
No, go
I don't know
ahead.
if you have the doc up.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So this week, Christmas week, give something valuable away with zero extraction intent. Maybe if you're off, this will be the week when you get back, first week of January.
No, hold up. Don't lose your place. Ladies and gentlemen, I just gotta stop that right there. If you're off, add value to your family. Like this whole conversation has been a business kind of conversation. Has it? Maybe. Okay, go ahead,
Yeah.
Chris.
With that, it's a good reminder, you're never off as a human being. Um, so not a lead magnet, not something designed to nurture toward conversion, not something with a CTA at the end, just value given freely to whoever needs it. Some specific ideas, share your best framework openly, offer help to somebody without any business potential. Man, sometimes the most business potential comes from those moments. Send a genuine thank you to someone who's added value to you. Create something purely for the benefit of your audience. Make it easier for someone else to succeed. Uh, and again, I think we've asked this question most times. Like, if you're curious about what to notice, how does it make you feel
Yeah.
that you did that thing in this different way?
Yeah. Chris, can you imagine this? Two things I'll say, then I'll shut up and we can really close. Can you imagine if this was your world, wife or partner, husband, depending on who you're listening this, or just partner in general, says, "Can you take out the trash?" And you say, "Yes, I can, but could you please fill out this form first, so that I can add the value to your life of taking out the trash." That
It
that
wouldn't
wouldn't
work
work
out.
it wouldn't
Wouldn't
work
work
out.
out well.
Just so you know, wouldn't work out. How many times are you doing that dumb crap in your business? Now, here's the other thing I'll say. My value to the world is, over the holidays, if you have some spare time, just head over to this new website that I'm building. Again, there's nothing that I need you to buy, there's nothing that I need you to convert on. But if you are a leader of a team or an owner of a business and you kind of end up in these days where you feel overwhelmed, I just want you to go to the spiritual side of leadership.com/superhuman framework and dive into that framework and just enjoy. And if you have questions, email me, george@georgebthomas.com. I'm open to just conversations around what you think of that resource, because literally free, no gate, tons of information that I think will help leaders and owners just live a better, easier, not as stressful, different kind of. By the way, the framework, and Chris knows this, the framework is actually the creation or the extraction of the George B. Thomas skill.md. It's been what I've
That's
been
right.
doing for like 25 years. Anyway, that's
Oh
enough of
man,
me.
that's absolutely right. And like as we're going to be continuing to share these resources, and just like the ultimate question, what if your entire business was built on this approach? And at the end of the day, we do need this to come from leaders. If you're an individual contributor, and you like the idea, like again, reach out. Lots of different ways to position this to your leadership team, if you want to get the help. But this has been the foundational series, 7 commitments that together represent the fundamental shift from industrial age thinking to value first thinking, from treating humans like leads to treating them like humans. How about that?
let's go. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, it's all about the.
Oh, there it is. From extracting value to enabling it to multiply. Uh, the question now is, what do you do with this? These aren't just ideas, they're invitations to show up differently, to build differently, to measure differently. Oh, any final thoughts, George, as we look ahead to 2026, or as we look back to 2025, either way?
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Find your focus word. Think more about the wins that you had in 2025 versus the things that you wish you would have gotten done, because that is over. And now it's time to look forward.
Yes. And I can't And what you said last week was so good. So probably gonna be talking about it all the time. You don't have to start with a conversion to get a customer.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to extract value to create it. You don't have to treat people like leads to build a business. There's another way, and it works. All right, folks, we hope everybody has a great holiday, and we look forward to killing it with you in 2026. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.